Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Access. In this module, I want to show you how to create a database and how to create your first table in that database. Now before I do that, I want to point out these preloaded template databases that you can see here. Some of these are very good and are already populated with all the fields that you might need. So it's worth having a look through these before you start creating one from scratch. However, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on blank database. Now, when you click on the blank database, it basically asks you to save it first of all. It's not like Word or Excel where you go File, Save As. You need to name the database at this point. So I'm just going to call this Customers. And I'll put DB at the end of it so I know it's a database. It's going in Documents, and then I click Create. Now, when you first get into Access, you are presented with this screen, which is basically a table, your first table. And down this left-hand side, you've got all Access objects displayed with a little drop-down arrow showing you that is the setting that is selected. Now, what will appear in this window are the main components of Access. So tables are the bedrock, which most of the information is in. You'll then get queries. Queries are what you interrogate the tables with, questions if you like. Then there'll be forms where you can input data and manage your database. Reports where you generate information to pass on to other colleagues. And then macros where you can automate processes. But first off, you have to create your tables. Now, there's two ways of doing this. There's utilizing the toolbar that you're on at the moment, Table Fields. Basically, what you have to do is create columns. But you can drop this little arrow down and you get all those different types of data there. Look, you've got short text and number format and currency and things like that. And you can just go along clicking it, and then you'd have to rename it at the top. That is one way of doing it, but what I prefer is not to do it like that. I'm just going to close this down, and everything disappears once you do that. What I'm going to do, and what I suggest you do, because you get into the right place straight away, is click on Create and go into Table Design. So you've got Table there again, so if you did that by accident, you can quickly get back to it. It's there, look, Table 1. Until you save it, it'll call itself Table 1. But next to that, you've got Table Design. I am going to click on that, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what we're looking at. We are creating the columns in this table. We're also going to tell Access what type of data is going to go in this table and each column. And if needed, as it says optional there, we're going to type a bit of narrative to say what this field is all about. So the first one is, this is customers. I'm going to do customer ID. So customer ID, like that. When you're naming things in Access, the naming convention is not to have spaces. Now, when I press my tab key, it defaults to short text. And you can see in that list there all the different types that I showed you initially on the first one. They're all sitting there as well. So short text is the default. I don't want this to be short text. I want this to be what's called auto number. So every time I add a new customer, it's going to give me an automatic number increase. And that's all I need to do there. Underneath that, I'm going to put name. I'll put surname, actually, because name, it doesn't like using name. Surname, I'm pressing tab. It is going to be a short text field. Now, each time you type something up here, you might notice that you're getting properties appearing down the bottom there. One of the key things you need to look at is the field size. Short text is defaulting to 255 characters. Now, nobody that I know has got a surname that long, so you might want to just knock that down a bit. I'll put it down to 50 characters. Be careful though, because if obviously somebody's got double-barreled names, it could go more than that. So 50. So then I'm going to go first name, capital N for name, same thing. I'll put that back down to 50. Now, if you don't put it down to 50 or change this, Access will allocate that space 255 characters, whether you type one letter in or 200. So you just need to just watch that, because it's going to slow the database down at a later date. So I've got surname, first name, and I might I might think, oh, hang on, I've done that wrong. So you can move it. If I highlight this row, I can just push that up, swap those two rounds. If you make a mistake, you're not stuck with the order that you put them in. So underneath that, we'll go for company. So these are people, our customers. I'm going to leave that. You change that default down there. Now company, I'll probably put that to 100 because that could be quite a lot. Under company, we'll go address. Address. I'm going to leave that as it is. Then we'll go city, postcode, no space. And postcode doesn't have to be 255. I'll put that down to about 10. And then I'm going to do some date fields. So I'll go date joined. So you get people to join your business. And that's going to be a date time. So I'm typing the letter D. It will default to date time. If you don't do that, you can just select it from the list. And date time, right. Date fields, you need to restrict data entry on date fields. Stop people typing September instead of 09 or August instead of 08. Now to do that, you're using this line down the bottom here. So I'm on that date join field. Down the bottom here in the properties, you've got an input mask. If I click on there, on the other side of it, you've got 3 ellipses, which one I'm not going to click just yet, because what it's going to ask me to do is save this table before I can use this feature. So I'm going to save this table. I'm doing Control and S. That'll save this table. And I'm going to name it as customers. So it's just going to be TBL, short for table, no space, capital C, customers. So it's a table of customers. Okay. And then it's asking me for a primary key. I'm going to say no at the minute, but I will set the ID field as a primary key. But I've done that so I can use the input mask. So let's go for that. 3 little ellipses. I want a short date, that option. When you click in there, that's what it's going to look like in the column when you have a look at the data. So nobody can type August in that space. It won't let you do it. If I go next, it's just going to show you the separators that's going to be there. You can change the separators to be any one of these. I'm going to leave it on the underscore. It's okay. Finish. Then it puts a load of numbers in the row. The 0 means input is needed. You can't just put 1/1/25. It'd have to be 01/01/2025. That's what you'd have to put there. The 0 at the end is just the fact that you did the underscore option. So that means nobody can type a date anywhere they want. That's sorted. So every date field you need to do that for, I think. You've also got the format option down the bottom there, but it doesn't really matter the format option if you've restricted the entry. If you've told them to enter it like that, that's pretty irrelevant because that's the only way it can be input. Now the primary key that it asked me for when I save the table is really important in Access. This customer ID field needs to be unique. And to make it unique, I need to make it a primary key. And that's all I do. I click on that little key symbol and I get a key symbol there. And then that is a primary key. So what it means is it cannot be duplicate. You can't have customer ID 1 twice. It will only let you do it once. It'll come up with an error message if you try and type 1 in again. Now, the fact that that's on auto number, that's probably not going to happen anyhow. But sometimes you don't have it on auto number. It's got to have text in it, so it would have to be short text. If that's the case, you would you'd be able to put a duplicate in. You don't really want to be able to do that, so no duplicates. So we've got all the fields that we want. I haven't actually typed anything on the right hand side there, but I just want to have a quick look at some of the other data types that's in this list that might be of use. So you've got short text, long text. That's basically 64,000 characters, so a lot more than 255 characters. If you want to do like a memo field or something like that, you could use that one as your data type. Next, you've got number. If you want to do calculations in Access, you need to use number fields or large number or currency, which is basically a number field with a pound sign on it or a dollar sign on it. So you've got number, and then you've got large number, which gives you down to more digits. You've got date time, which I've already talked about, and then you've got expanded date time, which gives you a more precise date time, milliseconds and things like that. Currency is the same as a number field. It will show you the country qualifier, like dollars or pounds or euros. Auto number is what I've used there. It's automatically going to increment. Yes, no means yes, I have got a pension, or no, that would be like a little ticky box. OLE, object, is a bit of an old-fashioned word now. Object linking and embedding, it allows you to embed other programs like Word or Excel into Access, or you can embed and link them. So it's just like a pointer on your desktop to a program or a file. Hyperlink is exactly what it says on the tin, would allow you to email straight from Access or click on a web page straight from Access. Attachment is it allows you to attach multiple files to a record. So for example, say you had a training database and everybody that passed the course got a certificate, you might have many certificates to it with one person. You'd be able to attach them to that person's record using that field. Calculated field, you can use calculations at table level. You might have a VAT calculation or something like that that you want to add in. Lookup wizard, it's quite useful. It looks up information from another table, so you don't have to type it out. It's quite useful, that, and we'll go through that later on. So that's all I want. Now, as I've already mentioned, down the bottom you've got properties for each of these. Whichever one you click on, there's a series of properties. I've talked about the field size. You've got the input mask as well and format. Caption. This is used, for example, if you picked a attachment type, data type, all you get is a little paperclip symbol. Now, as a title for the column. Now, to change that, you would have to use caption. Whatever you put in the caption row would replace the paperclip symbol. Okay, default value. Let's say the city field that you have, most of your customers are in the Newcastle area. So in the default value, you could put, for example, Newcastle, which I will do. Newcastle, like so. So on the date join field, we've got the input mask. You notice there's less items there than there is on a text field. There's some more items there. So we've got the validation rule and validation text. So again, I'll go back to the date field. You might want to say that the validation rule is greater than or equal to today. So I could use the now function for that. And then you would put in the text line, it has to be a number or a date in the future. Required yes or no in there. You can put everything to yes, which means you need the information, but be careful of that, because if you haven't got the information, then you're sort of stuck. So just watch that. Indexed, every single field name can be indexed. It's totally up to you. Now, these next two are to do with foreign languages like Japanese and things like that. Text alignments on general, and show the date picker. If you've got a date field, which you do have, it means it'll have a little calendar at the end of the row. Now, if I just save the changes I've just done there and have a look at the columns, you go click on view, it shows me all those columns. There you can see Newcastle, look, default value. And it works like this. That's on an auto number. If I put my details in here, if I put Steve, I press my tab key to come across. Saxton, tab, company, it's easy. Like that, address, 1 Red Road. It's already on Newcastle, so I can just tab over that. Postcode, NE11RT. Date joined. I'm going to do a key command for today's date, which is control and semicolon. And that'll put today's date in. Now, when I press tab again, that's going to jump onto record 2. Tab again, I'm putting somebody else in there. Dave Jones, tab, AMAC, tab, 2 Red Road. Let's say is in leads. So I'm over typing that now with leads. And then it's going to be LS12ER date joined today. Tab. Now you must tab off the record when you're typing in table format like this, because if you don't, it's just pending. It's not in the actual database. I'll just do one more for now. I'll do Anne Black. She's in Bob IT 3 Red Road, Newcastle. So I'll tab past it. NE1 1RT, and let's say they're joined on the 01/01/2024. Tab off it. Now you do not have to save data input in Access. It is automatically saved. So if I close this table down, it just collapses down and goes across to the left-hand pane. If I open it again by double-clicking it, everything is still there. I didn't save anything. Where you do have to save is if you do this. If I widen that column, for example, if I get my cursor there and just drag that wider, and then go to close it down, so I'll just click on the close button. It's asking me, do I want to change this, save the changes to the design layout of this? I'm going to say yes. Then I'm going to open it again, and it's going to be saved. That. Now, I'm closing this by clicking on that across, but you can also use a key command, which is Control W. Control W closes window, and that will close that down. It is really important that you tidy up in Access. I'm just going to double click and do the auto fit on that column so it just comes back in a little bit. So there's your data, and you start building up this list. And there's lots of different ways of getting data in there. You type it, or you can copy and paste it in. Now, if you want to delete something, you can highlight the row and use the delete button or press delete. But watch what happens. I'm going to click delete. It's telling me there that I've got no undo. So if you're a bit unsure, don't do it. I'm going to say no, don't delete it. Now, you may well have a backup copy, but sometimes backup copies are every 24 hours. So you could lose up to 24 hours of data if you're going down that route. So be very, very careful. So we've created our database, we've called it customers, and we've created our first table and had a quick look at how a table works and some of the features you get in data types and properties.